Tonight on The Buzz, we start with Andy Meisner, the president of TV Pro Gear. His company builds TV stations and production facilities. He joins us in studio to talk about the impact 4K images are having on live production. Next, Tim Bajarin is a highly respected industry analyst and the president of Creative Strategies. We talk with him about how wearables and mobile devices are changing how we work and play. Finally, Pilar Allessandra is a script consultant and the author of the Coffee Break Screenwriter. She joins us in studio to talk about how to create a successful and sellable script. Plus, Paul Saccone of Blackmagic Design joins us for Tech Talk, and as always, we have a Buzz flashback. The Buzz starts now.
Tonight's digital production Buzz is brought to you by Otherworld Computing at MacSales.com, Advantage Video Systems at AdvantageVideoSystems.com, and by ZenData at ZenData.com.
Since the dawn of digital filmmaking,
authoritative,
one show serves a worldwide network of media professionals,
current,
uniting industry experts,
production,
filmmakers,
post-production,
and content creators around the planet.
Distribution.
From the media capital of the world in Los Angeles, California, the Digital Production Buzz goes live now.
And welcome to the Digital Production Buzz, the world's longest-running podcast for creative content producers covering media production, post-production, marketing, and distribution around the world. My name is Larry Jordan. Our co-host, Mike Horton, has the night off. Let's see, we've got a variety of news this evening, and the big news in post-production this week is the release of the public beta of DaVinci Resolve 12 from Blackmagic Design. As you'll learn later in this program from Paul Saccone, this software is targeted directly at Final Cut, Premiere, and Media Composer. While it's too early to determine the impact this new version will have on our industry, the fact that it is free means that it will get a lot of people looking at it. Acusys is a storage company that makes a variety of high-speed RAIDs, and this week their 8-bay Thunderbolt 2 RAID tower was certified by Blackmagic Design to work with Resolve for 4K images. FX Factory announced a new plugin called 9Slice. This provides powerful scaling to resize picture frames, banners, and other graphics while preserving corners and edges. It's compatible with Final Cut, Premiere, After Effects, and Motion. Also this week, the SuperMeet team announced that Walter Murch will headline the Amsterdam SuperMeet coming up at the IBC event in Amsterdam on September 13th. By the way, we've been making lots of changes to the Buzz website this summer. One of our latest is redesigning our interview pages. We've made these archives easier to search, easier to view, and now include both the audio and video interviews on the same page. Visit digitalproductionbuzz.com and check out the latest view. I'll be back with Andy Meisner right after this. When you're working with media, one thing is essential. Your computer needs peak performance. However, when it comes to upgrading your Mac, there are so many different options to choose from that the process can be confusing. That's why Otherworld Computing carries the best upgrades that lets your computer performance and storage grow as your needs grow. Since 1988, OWC has become one of the most trusted names in quality hardware and comprehensive support to the worldwide computer industry. With an extensive online catalog of Mac, iPhone, and iPad enhancement products, as well as a dedicated team of knowledgeable experts providing first-rate tech support, OWC has everything you need to take your current system to the next level. Whether you need to maximize your system's memory, add blazing speed, or enhance reliability, look no further than the friendly experts at OWC. Learn more by visiting MacSales.com today. That's MacSales.com. Andy Meisner is the founder and president of TV Pro Gear. This is a company that specializes in the design, engineering, and assembly of television stations and mobile video production systems, along with in-house production and video rentals. Hello, Andy. Welcome.
How are you doing, Larry?
I am so excited to be talking to you because my favorite thing in the world are remote trucks. And we're going to be talking about remote trucks today. How can you not get excited about that?
They are fun to build and design and fun to use, too.
Well, start at the beginning. What is TV Pro Gear?
Well, we build, as you said, television systems, primarily video trucks, entire TV stations, and we specialize in fly packs as well.
Now, what's a fly pack?
It's a multi-camera system used for shooting live events like concerts and sporting events and conferences. And it's typically with 6 cameras. It's all in one box. You can put it on a plane, train, or automobile and shoot anywhere in the world.
Well, why a fly pack and not a remote truck? What are the two differences?
Smaller, lighter, easy to get into places. Bloomberg bought 2 of them from us. They used it recently to shoot at the White House with President Obama. And we have a number of them that have gone out and shot four TED Talks in the last couple of years.
Well, we'll talk more about that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly, you started TV Pro Gear in your garage in 1997. Why?
Well, it was an accident, believe me. At the time, I was directing a TV series called America's Dumbest Criminals, and the producer sold off the series to Barry Diller, who wanted to move it to Memphis, and I didn't want to go to Memphis, so the producer said sell off the station, all the equipment, and I made us a lot of money and found out this was an easy way to make money, and then people kept asking me to build things.
And it grew from that?
Yeah. Yeah, and finally my neighbors complained to the police that I was running a business out of the house and I had to move to a real building.
So who are some of your clients after you stopped being arrested for building stuff in your garage?
AT&T does a lot with us. Bloomberg, as I mentioned, Comcast, NBC, Fox Sports, ABC. Those are the big ones. We have a lot of clients foreign now. We're building a TV station in Bangladesh for Nanobase, building another station in Nigeria. We sold a video truck to Nigeria in December. And we have projects going in Guatemala and Jamaica. And Trinidad, we did 2 projects this year. So it's pretty much all around the world.
One of the hot buzzwords that's going right now is 4K. What's your opinion on 4K?
Well, clearly it's here to stay for and ideal for scripted material, single camera or even multi-camera. But for sports and for concerts, it's not quite there yet. A lot of people don't realize, well, first of all, the bigger the sensor of a camera, the shallower the depth of field or depth of focus. And so while that gives you the film look, it's not so great for shooting live events where you don't know where the talent's going.
Which means that you've got to be critically sharp on your focus or everything is out of focus, which is the definition of what sports is not.
Really hard to stay in focus. And secondly, if you look at these TV, you see the big cameras with giant zoom lenses. Well, those zoom lenses are 50, 60, even 100 times zooms. There's no such lens for a 4K big sensor camera right now. About the most is a 12-to-1. So you really don't have the lenses you need to do sports properly. Those big lenses, by the way, have I know a lot of your viewers will know that the more telephoto, the harder it is to keep it from vibrating. So the big lenses all have optical stabilization in them, which is why they're so expensive. And again, those lenses are not available for big sensor 4K cameras. So a number of manufacturers are currently introducing 2/3 inch sensor, the same as your traditional camera. They'll use the 2/3 inch lenses. So more pixels in the same size sensor, but you can use the standard lenses.
Well, one of the things that NHK was doing is they were experimenting with 8K video, and rather than panning the camera like we traditionally do, they would take an 8K picture and do a region of interest where they were taking essentially a window from that 8K frame. Would that work in a 4K environment as well?
Yeah, they're definitely, that is being done, and they are using 4K in the NFL, for example, doing that exact method, but it's still a specialized function.
I was just thinking that with 4K, we don't have a distribution system for people to watch a 4K image. So they'd have to downsample to 1080 which takes 3/4 of the resolution away for people to be able to watch a live event at home.
You're not supposed to talk about that because companies selling 4K TVs are going to be upset.
Well, you can get it with what's called over the top. If I'm looking at YouTube, I can get a 4K picture from YouTube, but I can't get a 4K picture from my cable system or over the air.
Right. A number of tests have been run so that you can broadcast 4K. Obviously, it'll be highly compressed. It's coming. The Standards Committee, both SEMPTE and EBU in Europe, have kind of finalized on a 4K standard for transmission over the air. It'll be here soon enough.
Soon enough.
Yeah.
Well, one of the, I will confess, I went to NAB 3 years ago. I go to NAB fairly often. I went to NAB 3 years ago. I was in the central hall, and there, standing in front of me, was a remote truck. It was a standard 44-foot semi. And I called my wife. I said, wife, I'm standing in front of a brand new remote truck. It's $6 million. I have to buy it. Now, she's very smart. She did not say no, because then, I would have whipped out the Amex card and bought the remote truck on the spot. She said, where are you going to park it? At which point I realized I have no place to park a 44-foot remote truck at home. But you build remote trucks.
Right.
And I want to play, for everybody to watch, I want to play a promotional video that TV Pro Gear created showcasing the latest technology in remote trucks. Take a look.
TV Pro Gear's Model 3224 video production truck is designed for shooting sports, concerts, and live events. Because equipment has been getting smaller and lighter, productions that used to require a 40-foot truck can now be done in a 32-foot truck. An equipment machine room is no longer required because all the equipment fits in and under the production consoles. This saves money and lets the truck go where bigger trucks cannot go. The productions can be transmitted in real time via microwave or over the internet. A satellite uplink is optional. The truck is equipped with a computerized auto leveling system. Electric awnings are included to shade the truck and keep rain and snow out. They will retract automatically if the wind or storm gets too strong. Powerful LED work lights surround the truck. In case of a power failure, all equipment will keep running on the automated backup battery system until the operator turns on the 20,000-watt diesel generator. Redundant dual 5-ton air conditioners keep the truck at a comfortable temperature, even in hot tropical climates. Inside the main cabin of the truck is the production area. The 4A HVS 390 switcher has 2 mix effect buses, 6 keyers, 24 inputs, and 8 outputs. A 6-channel instant replay system is used for shooting sports. The truck is wired for 8 cameras with full remote control. The shader controls the cameras by using the waveform monitor, vector scope, and precision LED monitor. A robotically controlled camera with a 36x zoom lens is mounted on top of the 56-foot microwave mast. SSD recorders are used for both the line cut and camera ISOs. 2 frame synchronizers with up, down, and cross conversion ability enable the truck to input or output any type of video signal, including SDI, component, and composite. Graphics and titles are created using a dual Chiron Lex 3. A Streambox 9450 Internet encoder is used for streaming to the Internet. 6 channels of intercom are available, 2 wired and 4 wireless. In addition, there are 4 IFB channels for queuing talent or announcers. The audio room features a 40-input digital mixer. The mixer has extensive audio effects, sound processors, delays, and filters. A second area is provided for an audio assist operator. TV Pro Gear trucks are built to last. The rivetless aluminum construction won't leak or rust. The outside door handles and locks are of the highest quality, so the equipment inside will be secure.
Andy, I have to ask, how much is that truck?
That one was $1.6 million.
I could afford 3 of them.
Sure.
This is great.
Well, we offer, low interest financing. That one went to Trinidad, by the way, to the PBS station in Trinidad.
And it had 6 cameras? Mm-hmm. What are clients specing?
Actually, had 6, but it was wired for 8. And the interesting thing on that was Trinidad was a British colony, so it's right-hand drive, which was kind of a challenge.
I can imagine. What are clients specing in trucks these days? What gear do they want?
Lately, well, of course, there's the traditional Grass Valley, Sony, but there also has been a lot of activity with Ross Open Platform because it's a little less money without a sacrifice in quality, and because so many things come from Ross, the way they interact, you get a lot more power in the capabilities.
Are they looking for HD, 4K? How are they speccing in terms of resolution?
Everything's HD. Of course, all equipment now is digital, is menu switchable, HD, SD, PAL, NTSC, or any. Basically, our systems do any frame rate and any format, 1080p. They're all universal.
Are clients speccing the gear, or are they looking to you for recommendations on what gear to use?
I would say 80% go with what we recommend. 20% will have a preference. We are authorized dealer for over 120 manufacturers, so we don't really care, except we try to give our best advice.
How do you decide which gear to recommend? Do you put it through tests, or what kind of background, what testing, I guess, is what I'm looking for?
In Glendale, California, we have our TV Technology Center, which is actually a fully working television station. And we test things. We don't use it for anything except seminars, testing, and client demos and training. But it allows us to test equipment under a real-world environment, and everything gets run through. And we see how it works and functionality. The other thing that we really have a benefit, we do at least one lunch and learn every week where we have a different vendor come in. They go through all their products, what the features are, what's new, what's out. And so that's our challenge, to always stay on top of everything so we know what to recommend.
Well, thinking of that, it's more than just television production that's doing video work. There's churches and schools. Are you seeing interest in your gear from those venues as well?
Yeah, we do quite a few schools and quite a few churches. We did Lancaster Baptist out in Lancaster, California, which is a mega church with 5 robotic cameras and then 2 operator-controlled.
Would they be more permanent installations, or are they doing fly packs?
No, those are with a control room. The most interesting one we did recently is for 40 years, the Navy has had the Nimitz-class aircraft carriers. There's a completely new design called the Gerald Ford class, and we got the contract to build the on-ship TV and radio station. And it is an entire functional TV station. So the sailors, a typical aircraft carrier has over 5,000 sailors, so it's a floating city. And as you can imagine, they have hip-hop bands, rap bands, country western bands. So the sailors can actually make their own videos on the ship, which are then available live and on demand. It's also used by the captain and officers for mission statements. And most importantly, what are called best practices. So, for example, if a sailor finds a better way to service some little pump or turbocharger, he can go and make a video on this new procedure, and it'll be propagated throughout the Navy to every ship using that same part.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it is.
One of the things you talked about at the beginning that I want to take a look at is this whole concept of fly packs, which is essentially a shippable production studio. Actually, production gear, because it's not the studio.
Right.
But if I remember correctly, there's a fly pack that you created back in 1978. I want to see if we can take a look at that.
Of course, I wasn't born then.
No, you were way too young.
Yeah.
But let's see if we've got that photograph of a fly pack and see if that looks like. Wait a minute. The guy in the red jacket has got hair. What is the problem here?
Not only that, he's much thinner than me. I think he's related. No, yeah, I was.
And the fly pack, if I'm looking at it, this has got a 2-inch portable quad videotape recorder. That was before U-Matics came in.
Before 1-inch, before U-Matics, yeah. And that recorder made by Ampex cost $90,000 in 1978 dollars, so it'd be like $1 million today, and it worked about half the time.
Yeah, I remember those, and they were so fragile.
And so noisy. Remember how noisy they were?
I do remember. I remember just trying to pick up a quad tape. A 90-minute quad tape required an extra derrick to be able to pick up.
Yeah, this was before satellite distribution of signals.
Let's go to what the fly pack looks like today. Now, this is the brand new one. This is the shot where this is a full production console.
Right. That particular fly pack has 6 cameras and 6 channels of instant replay and slow motion and 2 channels of computer graphics. Has a 64 by 64 video router and audio router. wireless intercom and wired intercom. So it's pretty much can do anything you need to do.
Now, just to ask a hard question, but why wouldn't somebody get a TriCaster? I mean, it'd be much smaller, fits into a smaller space, would probably not cost as much. Why should they invest in a fly pack?
Actually, we built a fly pack with a TriCaster switcher. One of the ones we built for Bloomberg has a TriCaster. We built another fly pack for CMAC Public Access in Fresno. So we do build TriCaster ones. If people have a constrained budget, they're very good. There always is that possibility of the blue screen of death. And so if you're a network or call letter station, you can't afford to ever go down. So those cases, we don't generally recommend the TriCaster.
The fly packs that we were just looking at, price range would be what?
So the TriCasters start out at about $80,000. The 6-camera full-blown Ross open platform is about $600,000.
As you're looking at trends from client specking gear and where the video's headed, what are you watching? What's the thing that's going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months we need to pay attention to?
I do think 4K is the wave of the future. I always poo-pooed 3D. I had a saying that the path to bankruptcy is paved with bricks made out of efforts on 3D. I've seen them come and go in my life. But 4K, I believe, will happen because it does have some advantages.
Even for broadcast and cable?
Yes.
So how are they going to cram it in? That's where the H.265 spec comes in?
Yeah, there's HVEC also, which is H.265. So there'll be new ways. And then, bandwidth to the home will increase over time. So it's viable. And you can, of course, still broadcast it in HD, the evergreen factor. So you as a producer, if you're creating material that may be reused or has value over time, you really should be doing it in 4K to preserve the value. Just like in the old days, if you did black and white when color was coming in.
True, or, when we're shooting, if you can shoot 35 versus 16, if you can afford it, you've always got the higher quality to work with.
Right.
For people that want to hire your services or ask for a donation of a remote truck for a well-deserving podcast like ourselves, where can they go on the web to learn more?
tvprogear.com. That's TV like television, pro like professional, and gear like a gear shift.
That's all one word, tvprogear.com. Andy Meisner is the founder in his garage in 1997 and the CEO of TV Pro Gear, which is based in Glendale.
Yes.
Can people come and take a look at the stuff you've got?
We love people to come over and play with our toys and gadgets and gadgets.
And seminars, where can they go to find out about those?
Those are posted on our website, and also if they sign up for our newsletter. And we don't bomb people with emails once a month. That's it.
Perfect. Andy, thanks so much for joining. This has been great fun.
Thank you for having me.
Take care.
Enjoy.
My pleasure. If you need long-term archiving for your video content, then you should look at ZenData. They specialize in providing secure, long-term storage of video content with a low cost per terabyte. The company has a variety of archive solutions that range from external LTO drives that can connect to your laptop to multi-petabyte storage systems using huge robotic libraries. ZenData systems will store your content on LTO or Sony optical disc archive cartridges. And with their next release, they also provide an option for archiving to the Amazon cloud. They offer great compatibility with many of the third-party applications used in the media and entertainment industry, including most media asset management systems. ZenData has hundreds of installations around the world, from Los Angeles to Mongolia. So if protecting your assets is important to you, visit zendata.com. That's XENDATA.com. Tim Bajarin is recognized as one of the leading industry consultants, analysts, and futurists covering personal computers and consumer technology. Tim is the president of and principal analyst for creative strategies and has served as a consultant to most of the leading hardware and software vendors in the industry, including IBM, Apple, Xerox, Hewlett-Packard, which is also Compaq, Dell, and many others. His articles and/or analyses have appeared in USA Today, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Times, and just about every other leading business and trade publication. I've known of Tim for many, many years and looking forward to our chat. Hello, Tim. Welcome.
How are you?
I am talking to you. I'm standing at attention. I'm having a great time. I'm looking forward to our chat. I am too. One of the things that everybody is talking about these days is wearables, which is the subject of your upcoming talk at the Flash Memory Conference in San Jose. What's your take on these new highly mobile devices?
Well, the whole wearable by themselves, what we call standalone wearables like Fitbit and Jawbone, etc., have basically been kind of the precursor of launching what we would call the wearable movement. And at the moment, they're very focused on exercise, steps, heart rate monitors, things of that nature. And in that context, they're actually doing quite well. The other thing that has happened is, of course, Apple has introduced what's known as the Apple Watch. That it has a lot of those health wearable monitoring features, but then, of course, it does a lot more, right? It connects to my email, gives me a lot of alerts, and with Watch 2.0, we're going to actually get the first generation of what we would call native apps for the Apple Watch. But where this is most fascinating is it's got the attention of the healthcare industry. And I had an executive from one of the top HMOs in my office not long ago, and he basically clarified the health industry's position on wearables. And, this tracking and, the whole information of our health. And it was interesting because the way he posed it, which was it's better for us to be proactive to help you stay healthy than it is for you to get sick and have to cover your costs when you go to the hospital. And so there's a lot of motivation between the healthcare industry, the tech guys, and then the whole movement to try to keep us healthier. That is why this wearable segment has a lot of legs. And as far as we can tell, we sold over 100 million standalone wearable devices this year. Apple sold quite a few Apple Watches initially, and we expect them to sell close to 20 million in the first 12 months it's on the market. This whole wearable thing is interesting, but it looks like the health connection is why it's going to have legs and grow.
One of the things that our webcast pays attention to is people who are creating content. And I can understand the health relationship to mobile devices, but is there a content that we can pay attention to? Can people actually watch content on a watch or a mobile device like something that small? Or are we just using it for status reports and notifications? Yeah,
watches, the screen is way too small for what I would call video content. You can actually do images and you can do a little bit of video. I actually expect to see a YouTube Apple Watch application that's native that will let you do that. But to be honest with you, those are such tiny screens. Watching video there is going to be tough. Now, having said that, the real big trend is what's going on with smartphones and tablets, and specifically mobile in general, because that's where so much of the content is being targeted. In fact, it's interesting to note that in international markets, China, Japan, especially, and some of these others, when they are using their smartphones, about 75% of it is watching video. And part of it is because they have long commutes. And in Japan, it's interesting. I don't know if you've been to Japan lately, but you happen to be on any of their bullet trains or their trains going into the city, you'll just see people standing there watching their what they call soaps, the equivalent of a soap opera type, video. And the bottom line is, and think about the actual numbers. We're going to sell this year worldwide somewhere around 1.3 to 1.5 billion smartphones that are capable of handling video. And over time, the majority of the phones sold are going to be video capable. In some parts of the market, we still have what we call feature phones, but eventually everybody's going to move to smartphones because they're going to come down in price. So as a vehicle for content, guys creating content, mobile is actually going to be the largest medium for content distribution we've ever had.
I was just reflecting on that. The numbers, 1 point whatever billion, is just mind-boggling because it dwarfs the traditional desktop computer or almost TV sets, it seems to me. And all of a sudden, we have to change the way we're doing content. Wide shots don't work the same way. We've got to learn a new language for creating visual information. Would you agree?
Absolutely. It's kind of interesting, too, because we kind of actually had to do this, if you think about it, in the entertainment industry, because for decades, the screen that we had to watch video were gigantic screens in movie theaters, right?
Yep.
And then around the 50s, late 40s, early 50s, the television came into focus. And what happened then? We now had to create content for what was then called the small screen. And it's kind of the same scenario, right? The desktop and laptop was the equivalent of that movie theater big screen where we did video. And now we're having to rethink content for a small screen. I define the watch as a tiny screen. But the majority of this video has to be thought through in the context of basically 4 to maybe 6.5, 7-inch screens at best.
I was reflecting, Tim, back in the 50s when television was starting to steal audience from the theaters. Theaters shifted from the traditional 4:3 aspect ratio, which was what films were shot in mostly before that, to the widescreen format. And I was just wondering if now we need to look at, and the other thing is that television was able to emphasize close-ups in a way that films never did. Television became a close-up media because the screen was smaller. It looks like we need to rethink that whole concept of how we're shooting, because we can get really big close-ups, but on a mobile device, we don't see the same level of detail as we do on a TV set.
No, and you've got to deal with both aspect ratio, and the bigger problem is the screens are actually getting higher resolutions, right? Mm-hmm. You're getting the equivalent of HD, and the next generation, probably 2-3 years from now, is going to be even denser. The idea of getting to 4K on smartphones is probably overkill, but it's still going to get better and deeper. But at that point, you're really rethinking how you shoot. And the other thing about that video switch in general is that the whole concept of how you shoot for a small screen is the same problem they had, in the 50s, because they had to do not only close-ups, but they had to do different angles, and they had to do a lot of different ways to block how they did the cameras. And as you know, the history, of course, there is that in the early days of TVs, they were shot with a single camera, and then Lucy and Desi Arnaz pioneered the 3-camera shot, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then that actually revolutionized the way the videos were shot for the small screen. Now today we do have still, in most cases, we have single shots. The way we're shooting small, these smaller screens. But I think there's going to have to be a lot more creativity in how you do that if you're focusing on that small screen as the actual medium for what you're delivering.
Tim, before we run out of time, I want to mention that you're speaking at the Flash Memory Conference. When are you speaking, and can mere mortals attend?
Well, it is an industry conference. My particular panel, I believe, is on wearables and mobile and wearables and the health industry, and I believe it's the 12th at around 1 p.m. At the Santa Clara Convention Center. But I believe it's an industry event. I don't think it's for the consumer audience, but those in the industry can clearly sign up and attend.
Well, then, for people that would like to learn more about what you're thinking in terms of where the future is headed, where can they go on the web, and what websites do you recommend?
Well, our own site is called techpinions.com, And myself and three of our partners, or four of our partners, put new content in every day. And then there's a subscription area where we really dig deeper on technology and industry trends that runs about 100 a year. But we've got tremendous amount of subscribers who do that because they want to keep in touch and see what's going on in the future. And then, of course, our own personal website for our company is creativestrategies.com.
So that website is on your screen, TechPinions, TechPinions, TechPinions.com. And Tim Bajarin is the president of Creative Strategies and a contributor to TechPinions. Tim, I've enjoyed this a great deal. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. Jeff Stansfield started Advantage Video Systems in 2001, providing solutions for broadcast equipment and system integration, digital asset management, direct attached storage, and much more. Advantage Video Systems can integrate all of your equipment wherever you might need in your studio, office, classroom, or data center, and they can extend their services into a global support package. Their designers, editors, and technicians will help you achieve your competitive and creative goals. As Jeff always says, they truly want to make your entire day perfect. Visit Advantage Video Systems online at AdvantageVideoSystems.com or call toll-free at 800-287-5095. Advantage Video Systems, putting creative technology to work for you.
This is Tech Talk from the Digital Production Buzz.
Paul Saccone is the Senior Director of Product Marketing for Blackmagic Design. He's been with the company since January 2014. With the recent release of the brand new public beta of DaVinci Resolve 12, I want to chat with Paul and find out what's in the new software. Hello, Paul. Good to have you with us.
Hi, Larry. Good to be here.
So what's in the new features? What have you got?
So we've turned Resolve from just a color correction and finishing system into a full-blown NLE. So we've added advanced trimming tools for things like asymmetric and dynamic trimming. You can now trim live with audio playback. There's an entirely new audio engine for high sample rate and high bit depth audio with a new mixer and plugin support. We've added multi-camera editing. We've got a great new smooth cut transition that uses optical flow algorithms to smooth out cuts in an interview so you don't have to cover jump cuts with B-roll. We've got a brand new media manager, which is specifically designed for editorial workflows. And a lot of nice smaller things like transition curves for editable transition curves, the ability to animate with keyframes and on-screen motion paths with Bezier control, all of that stuff.
Well, there are already Avid Media Composer and Premiere Pro and Final Cut, which you have intimate knowledge of. Why turn Resolve into an NLE?
You know, as our customers that are finishing and doing color correction are under increasing deadlines, they were asking us to put in tools that allowed them to do some basic editing so that they could essentially have an online editor that allowed them to make last-minute changes without having to go back to their creative editor. So as we did that, you know, they started asking us for more and more features. And in addition, in order to be interoperable with the Final Cuts and the Avids of the world, we had to keep adding these features. So just turned it into a full-blown NLE at this point.
What do we need to be able to run Resolve? What kind of hardware?
Any current Mac or Windows machine will do. It really relies heavily on your GPU, so the faster your graphics card and the more memory you have, the better.
And where can we go to download a copy, and what does it cost?
So you can go to blackmagicdesign.com. Right on our homepage, you'll see a download link for the public beta of DaVinci Resolve 12. And DaVinci Resolve 12 is free. So if you're an independent editor working in SD, HD, or Ultra HD, you can use the free version of the software. If you're in a multi-user work group and need some of the advanced features like temporal and spatial noise reduction, the collaborative stuff that I mentioned, and the shared database, then you can get the full version, DaVinci Resolve 12 Studio, for $9.95.
Paul Saccone is the Senior Director of Product Marketing for Blackmagic Design. Paul, I look forward to talking to you a lot more about this when the product actually ships, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Pilar Allessandra is the director of the popular writing workshops On the Page and author of the Coffee Break Screenwriter. She teaches screenwriting, pitching, and story analysis at workshops around the world. And as a script consultant, Pilar has helped thousands of writers create, refine, and most importantly, sell their scripts. Hello, Pilar. Glad to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
What got you started writing scripts?
My background is not as a writer. My background is as a story analyst. And I started as a script reader when I was in my 20s, reading for Amplin Entertainment, and then as senior story analyst when it became DreamWorks.
Now, what does reading mean?
A script reader is somebody who is probably the first person to look at a script when it's submitted to a studio, and that person then figures out what kind of a script it is, what its strengths and weaknesses are, and whether or not it will make a good film.
So you were the gatekeeper, preventing most people from having a successful script.
Yes, my husband's nickname for me is Crusher of Dreams, or at least it was before I started teaching. It's one of the reasons I started teaching, actually, so I could actually help.
Well, Crusher of Dreams is definitely a statement, that's
You can
for
just
sure.
call me Crusher. It's all right.
Now, from there you went to an analyst. What's the difference between a reader and an analyst?
Well, a story analyst is a reader. So that was my background. I was a story analyst. The nickname for them is readers. As a script consultant, which is what I do now, I work one-on-one with writers, really helping them with their individual scripts so that when they get to those doors, those gates that are kept, their scripts are in really good shape and people will be more open to them.
Well, as a reader, before you started your own company, what was the one thing you noticed about the scripts you were looking at?
Well, I think it was one of the reasons I became a teacher was I kept seeing certain things that were really popping off the page and making people excited about a script. And then I would see certain things that made them put it down, made them get bored, made them sort of pass it, basically give the script a pass.
For instance?
Well, I think always there's that idea of the unique idea. If they were excited about the writing, but it was an idea they'd seen 1,000 times, unfortunately it was a pass. But that also didn't mean that it couldn't be an idea we've maybe seen, let's say, a bank robbery movie. But if there was a twist on the idea, if there was a fresh take on the idea, that also excited them. So seeing what writers did to spin even tropes that we know and make them new, that was something that I started seeing and some of the things that I started adding to classes.
So which came first, becoming a story consultant or writing a book?
Believe it or not, teaching and consulting, because I think teaching teaches you, and I was able to see what tools I was teaching my writers that were actually helping in the moment and helping them make their scripts better. And that was a great test for what would work in the book. I think almost like somebody who's doing a cookbook, you have to test out the recipes first.
Well, what are some of the techniques that writers need to keep in mind to make their script sellable?
Well, a lot of what I teach in class, when we get to the rewrite stage, has to do with editing, and you probably know that better than anybody else, that economy is everything. And often in a first draft, people have put their entire brain on a page, and that can be exciting that first time around, but you have to sort of chip away and get to what the focus of the scenes are, what the real story is, and that takes some craftsmanship.
Is it that they're writing too many words and they're not letting the visuals breathe, or is it that they're trying to prove that they've done their research?
I think it's a little of both. I think you really nailed it. Sometimes it is just over choreography, right? So instead of saying, she takes a drink of water, it would be her arm reaches out, her hands grasp the glass, she raises it to her mouth, she takes a sip of water instead of she drinks a glass of water. So too much choreography. But you're right, sometimes it's the research where they want to show off what they know, and what they know may have nothing to do with the story.
I've been watching a series from England called Foyle's War, which is set in the time around the World War II. And one of the comments they made is that the lead actor kept saying, "Take out words. Let me do more gestures. Let me do more facial expressions. Let me say less." And for writers, where you think everything has to be written on the page, taking out a word and putting in a gesture is a very dangerous thing because you don't exactly know what that gesture is. How do you encourage writers to write visually as opposed to write orally?
Well, I think what I usually say is it's actually more powerful. You know, you write in that action suddenly the camera is close on that action. You're expressing more than you could ever express in a line of dialogue. So try it. Take out that line of dialogue, replace it with an action, and suddenly you are, in a sense, directing your movie without the director knowing he's being directed.
And for a much smaller budget.
Right, exactly.
Well, we've seen that we want to not write too much. We want to have as close to an original idea as we can or a unique spin on an existing idea.
Yes.
What else do we need to do to make our scripts successful? Because I know there's about 800 million scriptwriters in LA that are trying to figure out how to get their script to sell.
I would say be brave and commit. I think there is too much rule chasing. People, they dig into every book in the world and then they try and follow some kind of formula that book lays out. I mean, I wrote my own book. I don't want you to follow my formula. I want you to use it as a guide when you're stuck. But you have to commit to your vision and your way of telling a story and not try and be a people pleaser on the page. That makes for really wishy-washy storytelling.
So it sounds like you have to trust your own voice.
Absolutely.
So we now need to pitch our idea to somebody that's not the reader.
Right.
How do we pitch it to get their attention without, hitting them in the head with a hammer?
Well, this idea of a log line, it usually drives writers to drink, but basically it's a one-sentence depiction of your main idea. It's one sentence. So if you can start with that one sentence, if you're getting the about in one sentence, what is your script actually about, and there's some kind of hook within that sentence, you've done half your pitching job. Get a really strong log line out. So the next time somebody says, "What's your script about?" you can say, "It is about this," with confidence, and even that one line gets their attention.
Norman Holland, who teaches at the USC Film School, was the one that introduced me to the log line first when he and I were working on a series of programs about 5 years ago. And he said that it's more than just the plot. He said it's got to be both the plot and the emotional core of what your script is about. Would you agree?
Yes, I would. If you were going to pitch like a real hardcore comedy like Ted, okay, you could just say it's about a man and a talking teddy bear. But what's really more important is it's that a man has trouble parting ways with his talking teddy bear. That's the emotional core. So now you've got the hook, the teddy bear that talks, and the emotional core has trouble parting ways.
A lot of what we've been talking about is writing scripts for fiction, feature films or episodic television. Is there a different way to write scripts or a different attitude you need to have if you're writing for reality or documentaries or nonfiction? Or is the process the same?
Well, the process isn't necessarily the same, but standing back and asking what is the story you're trying to tell is equally important. Reality, but it's reality. It's not scripted. Well, you need a point of view going in. You need an angle going in. So what's your thesis about this real world expressed in that log line? And then can you find in your series of shots those shots that back up that thesis and tell that story?
So let's see. We've got the pitch. What do we need to do to convince people to buy our script? It needs to be sellable. So what does it take to be sellable?
I think sellable is often confused with very Hollywood and very slick. I would go back to this idea of something fresh, a fresh voice, a fresh take, a character we've never seen, location a set piece, the idea that you're having something really active and extraordinary and using the location in an interesting way. All those things make people excited, and when it's excited, they want to buy it. Okay, so I would say something unique and fresh, that's sellable.
So now let's go back to the beginning of writing a script. Are we outlining everything first? Are we writing a key scene around which we're going to build? How do you suggest people do the process of the first draft?
Well, it's kind of funny that you said both of those things, because some people are sort of outside-in kind of people. They outline, right, and then they add the scenes and they add the dialogue from that outline. They work that way. But some people are the other people that you just mentioned. They see scenes, right? They see dialogue first, and they're inside-out kind of people. And I would say whatever way gets you through it. But I would say that it's not a bad idea to think big picture about just what are your goals for the story. By the end of the story, what needs to be accomplished in terms of where does the character need to end up, in terms of, thematically, what do you want to hit, what are the relationships that need to have developed, and do a little working backwards to get the big picture. That can be your sort of overall outline, and then go in and do all the fun stuff.
I had a conversation with another script consultant at last week's show, and as we were talking, I said, when a script is bought, the script gets rewritten, and then rewritten again, and then rewritten probably a third and fourth time, and then flogged to death. How much time do we spend into the script that we're going to be selling when we know it's going to be rewritten by 17 different people other than us before it ever gets made into a film?
That's why I'm not a big proponent of overwriting your script, of over rewriting your script. I do believe that scripts need a rewrite, and then they need another rewrite, and you need to get to a place where you have met your own intentions when you started out. But once you get there and you feel confident about your script, by all means, kick it out of the nest. Because of what you just said, there are going to be 17 rewrites by people who actually pay you to do it. So give it a little breathing room. Don't make it so perfect that you don't have any room for change.
As I look at my notes, I realize that one of the ways you earn your living is as a script consultant. I happen to have this incredible script right here that I'm going to sell you. I want to hire you as a consultant.
Okay.
What do you need from me before you even start consulting? And what should I expect from you when you come on board to give me a hand?
I need a script where I feel like you have done everything that you can do. You've taken it as far as you can take it. When people give me scripts that they're sort of like, well, I planned on doing this and I wanted to do that, but I wasn't sure, then you're wasting your money, because I'm just telling you what you know. So I need somebody to have it to have been rewritten to the point where they really just need somebody to have that other eye. Then what I do is I do a very thorough read. I'll tell you what I think your intentions are and where I believe those intentions are being met or where you're straying. And then I'll show you where those things are in the script, and we'll also work together to doctor those moments so that you're actually making your script better in the process. I will give you suggestions as to how to fix things.
How do you set your fees?
I set my fees, it's so funny. I set my fees on a gut level as to what I could afford and I feel is fair. I don't believe in overcharging people, and I think that's why I have a pretty full calendar. If you do want to consult with me, I'm booked currently till January.
So my script has to wait?
You have to, but there's, we got to rush things and waiting lists and all kinds of stuff. Plus, I really like you, so, maybe jump over the list a little.
How much time do you give me?
You mean as a consultant?
As a consultant.
It's usually about 90 minutes. It's on the phone or in person or by Skype, but it really depends on what a script needs.
So really, you're not helping me rewrite it. I think of you more as a critique. It's an informed critique of what the script is.
It's an informed critique, but I am bringing you to very specific places in the script so that I can show you where those things happen and also give you suggestions for rewriting. But if I actually went in and started rewriting with you, that's where things get a little wonky, because this has to be yours.
So would I then do a rewrite and then bring you back in for another look at it? Or
it depends on if you need it. I'm not into taking money when I don't need to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But sometimes people do. I do have a lot of repeat clients, and then they bring lots of scripts to me. And what's nice too is just watching them get better and better and better and better. That's been fantastic over the years. Same thing with my students. And with my students, what's so great is I get to watch that happen in in the 5 minutes of time I've given them to just write something. That's incredible.
In the little bit of time we've got left, what trends are you seeing in scripts that are becoming sold? What's a hot genre?
Well, it's funny. The minute something's hot and you chase it, by the time you get there, it's cold, right? So and I'm not the person who's buying it, but I will say, just as somebody who watches a lot of TV and movies, I'm very excited about the fact that there seem to be female leads not only on the small screen, the TV's been doing much better with that for a long time, but now on the big screen too. We've got Spy and Hunger Games and Gravity and Wild, and suddenly Hollywood doesn't seem to be scared of women anymore. So that seems like a trend that I really hope sticks around, and I think is going to make movies better.
So when's your next workshop?
My next workshop is actually this weekend. It's Saturday and Sunday. It is a 2-day rewrite intensive, but you can come in even if you don't have a first draft. It will just give you techniques that will make your writing stronger overall, so you can come in at any stage in the process.
And where on the web can we learn more about you and sign up for a workshop?
Sure. It's onthepage.tv.
That's all one word, on the page, onthepage.tv. And Pilar Allessandra, I got to get the first name correct. Pilar Allessandra is running On the Page. Pilar, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's time for a BuZZ flashback. 5 years ago today.
Even if your film is not fully completed, you definitely want to have a kick-butt trailer ready. And the reason is because the trailer is your #1 marketing tool for your film. In addition to the trailer, you want to start working on some of your other marketing materials, get like a killer graphic. Tip number 2 is do your homework. Start researching some of these companies. Where does your film fit?
This was a BuZZ flashback.
I have to show you, Pilar, as she left, handed me her coffee table screenwriter book. If you can take a look at it on the other camera, that's what it looks like, which is just way cool. All kinds of really neat ideas on how to write scripts, which I'm going to take home and read this evening. It's been an interesting show. I've been struck by Andy Meissner has been in the industry since the mid-'70s, and just thinking about how TV technology has changed. When I worked with my first remote truck, just to do a single camera, we were taking a truck around that was the size of a semi for one camera with a microwave shot back, and now he's got 6 cameras crammed into something slightly larger than a bread truck, which is pretty amazing. And Tim Bajarin, I've had the pleasure of reading his analysis for years and years, and enjoy listening to his thoughts on where the future is going, and especially his thoughts on wearables, which is a brand new opportunity for a lot of people. But I think for us, we need to think about the opportunity that mobile provides more than wearables. And Pilar Allessandra, the script consultant and the author, if you don't have a story, what are we going to watch in the evening except sit around the table talking to each other? This is really cool. And Paul Saccone, I met back in 2004, just after I started my company, when he was working for Apple, and a chance to chat with him now when he's working with Blackmagic, and the new Resolve is very cool. There's a lot of history in our industry, and it's all posted to our website at digitalproductionbuzz.com. You'll find hundreds of past shows and thousands of interviews, all searchable online, available, and newly redesigned, which is way cool. Visit with us on Twitter at DPBuzz and Facebook at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Text transcripts provided by Take One Transcription. Visit takeone.tv to learn more. Thanks to our producer, Serena Catania, Megan Paulos, and our entire crew of putting this whole show together. On behalf of Mike Horton, my name is Larry Jordan, and thanks for listening to The Buzz.
The Digital Production Buzz was brought to you by Otherworld Computing, providing quality hardware solutions and extensive technical support to the worldwide computer industry since 1988. Advantage Video Systems, who provide professional and integrated video and data solutions to post-production houses, broadcast facilities, as well as corporate, educational, and government institutions. And by Zen Data, who provides highly competitive digital video archive solutions.